Happy Thanksgiving, y'all. Thanksgiving is a time where you can get with friends and family and remember what you're grateful for. Some of us have lost friends and family, so it's a time for us to reflect and think about how grateful and thankful we are that we have our health and all the other blessings in life. This Thanksgiving, I wanted to put together a little menu for you of what we're having that have some newer videos in it and also some you may have never seen. I'm going to put links to all of these videos down in the description, so if there's something you want to make, you can click on that video and get the recipe for it. I'm thankful for each and every one of you that watch my channel. Y'all have taken something that I've started as a way to share recipes that I created to help me stay on track on my journey and turn it into something far beyond what I thought was possible. And for that, I thank each and every one of you. Thanks for joining me this Thanksgiving. Let's get into this menu right after this. So this first thing is an appetizer, like you need more food on Thanksgiving, right? But if you have people come over early while you're trying to get stuff together, it's always good to have something laid out for them to snack on and stay out of your way in the kitchen. This is one of my favorite recipes I've ever come up with. This is my sausage balls. Sausage balls are one of those iconic dishes that always pop up around the holidays. Everywhere you go, just turn around and poof, there they are. They're loaded with some delicious pork and cheese. The problem with the traditional version is that they're also loaded with carbs. But my version is not. You can eat these guilt-free, and the best thing is if you bring them to a holiday gathering or a family event, nobody's gonna know they're keto. Let me show you how to make these right after this. These sausage balls have been around as long as I can remember. Pretty sure it's a Southern thing because most of the great recipes are, but that's just my guess. I do know we used a lot of Bisquick down here in the South, and so the way I like to make these is with almond flour and some baking powder instead of the Bisquick. And like I said, the best thing about these is you can make these, take them to any event, and nobody's going to know they're keto except for you. These are a huge hit and something you can bring to a party or a gathering or a holiday meal, and people are going to ask you for the recipe. They're really, really easy to make. They don't have a whole lot of ingredients, and they only take about 20 minutes to bake. So if you're looking for something last minute to take to a party, this is it. You're going to love these. Let me get the ingredients together and let me show you what you're going to need to make them. You're going to need a pound of sausage. Now this is the Walmart brand. I was at Walmart looking for sausage, and I looked at the Carolina Pride. I looked at Jimmy Dean. All of them had MSG in it, and I try to avoid MSG. This one's pretty clean. Pork, water, salt, spices, and sugar. But sugar is the last ingredient, so I don't really care that much about that. And you're either going to find sugar or dextrose in every single sausage that you find. If you look right there, there's not much in there. You're going to need some almond flour. You're going to need some baking powder. You're going to need some Parmesan cheese. You're going to need some sharp cheddar cheese. I like the extra sharp myself, but at least a sharp. You're going to need 1 egg. You're going to need 1 large egg. You're going to need some garlic powder, and you're going to need some onion powder. Super simple. I'm going to go ahead and measure out all these ingredients, grate my cheese, and then I'm going to show you how to put this together. And what I like to do now that I have all my ingredients measured out is go ahead and preheat the oven to 350 degrees. So I have all my ingredients measured out here. I'm just going to go ahead and start combining them all together. I'm going to start out with my pound of sausage. You can use any kind of sausage you like. I really like this brand a lot, but you can use a breakfast sausage. You can use Italian sausage. This is the traditional way to do it. I'm going to add in my almond flour, and I've mixed my baking powder, my onion powder, and my garlic powder together. I'm just going to pour those in, and I'm going to take the egg and beat it, just so it incorporates into this mixture better. I'll go ahead and pour that in. I'm going to go ahead and add in my cheeses. And although I would love to find a better way to do this, there's no way to do it other than just get in here and mix all this together until it's really well combined. Hey, plus it's just fun to do. Now, if you like sausage balls or any other holiday sides, make sure you're subscribed to my channel and hit the little bell. Anytime I upload a video, you'll know about it.
So now that that's all combined like that, what I have here is just a large baking sheet. I've lined it with some aluminum foil, and I've put a cooling rack on top. I'm just going to take one of these cookie scoopers and scoop out a good solid rounded portion like that. Put it right on here. So just kind of round it over the top like that. You can see that on the side. And just put it right on. If you see they're kind of coming apart like that, just press them together a little bit. They're going to be just fine. And what I like to do when I get them all rolled out like this is just kind of press them a little bit, just to get them together a little bit more. You don't have to do this, but I just find it makes a little bit better texture at the end. And there you have it. We're going to go ahead and put these in the oven on 350 degrees for 20 minutes. So one thing I forgot to mention, about halfway into the cooking process, I'm going to kind of roll these around like that just to keep them from sticking. But these are done. They're delicious. And I like to serve these with a little bit of the cranberry sauce. And I'll put a link to that video right up here. These are going to be delicious, and I hope you enjoy them.
Now, you may have seen my old keto cornbread recipe, or you may see the one that's coming out in just a few days. But either way, if you make this and you've got some left over, one of the best things you can do with it is make some dressing or stuffing, depending on where you're from in the world and what you're going to do with it. Check that video out right now.
Okay, so let me show you what we need to make this keto dressing. You're going to need some cornbread. I'm making half a batch of this today. I'm going to put the recipe for this half batch and the full batch down in the description for you. And I'll put the link to the cornbread recipe down below for you. You're going to need some butter. You're going to need your favorite keto bread. Now, it says right here, keto certified. There's really no such thing. I don't recommend eating that stuff very often, but around the holidays, because I like to eat this, and we tend to do sandwiches and things like that with leftovers. So we usually get it around this time of year, but I don't recommend keeping this all the time for sure. You're going to need some chicken bone broth. Now, I like this bone broth concentrate, as you know, so you can make your own, but you can use a carton also. You're going to need an onion. You're going to need eggs. You're going to need celery. And then for our seasonings, we're going to season this with parsley, some black pepper, some ground thyme. Now, you can use the regular thyme as well. A lot of times I'll have it out in my garden. I grow a lot of my own herbs, but I really like the ground thyme better for this recipe. Then you're going to need some sage. You're going to need some garlic powder, and you're going to need some salt. So I'm going to measure these out, and then I'll show you how to put it together. So what I'm going to do here is start to melt this butter, and I'm going to saute the celery and onions right in here, get them a little soft, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So what I've done, I just have a bread pan here, and I've sprayed it with this avocado oil spray. And this is the one I use. I get this at Aldi. I've also toasted 2 slices of this bread. We're going to crumble that in. And I've diced that onion and diced that celery. So I'm going to take those over and saute those in the butter, get those real happy, and then we'll come back and start putting it together. Well, my butter is getting real happy over here, so what I'm going to do is bring over celery and onions and dump those right in. I really like these little cutting sheets like this. I'll put a link to those down below because it's real handy transporting stuff back and forth without having to bring a whole huge cutting board over. So I'm just going to let those work for a few minutes. Now, this is salted butter. I love using this Kerrygold salted butter, so I don't add any additional salt to this. But you could if you like it a little saltier. We're going to adjust for the seasoning a little bit later. Man, I just love that sound right there. So let these work for a few minutes, and I'll be right back. Now, these onions and that celery is getting real happy in here. So what I'm going to do is take these off the heat. I'm going to move over to where I have crumbled up the bread in a big mixing bowl. I'm going to pour all this together and add the spices in. So what I've done here is crumble the cornbread and the regular bread in here. I'm just going to bring these onions and celery in and dump them right in there. Then I'm going to grab my seasonings and put those in and stir it up. So I dump my onions and celery in. I'm going to go ahead and go in with the spice blend. I just mixed everything together. I'm going to mix this up, and I'll show you what it looks like in just a minute. I just gave that a little taste, and it is tasting pretty good. So I'm going to add just a tiny bit of salt. I think that's the only thing it needs at this point. So I'm just going to add a little salt there. I'm going to beat the eggs, pour those in, kind of mix it up, and see what it tastes like then. And hey, if you don't like raw eggs, one of two things: get a new egg person, or you can just taste it like that and then readjust your seasonings when it comes out of the oven. I'm just going to dump the eggs in. I'm going to start to stir it up. So let me incorporate these eggs first, and then I'm going to start adding a little bit of that chicken bone broth at a time until we get this saturated, and I'll show you what that looks like. Now I'm starting this half batch with about 3/4 of a cup, maybe a little more, of this bone broth. So I'm just going to pour about 1/4 of it in. That was more like a half. And I'm going to stir it up and see what kind of moisture level we have. You don't want any of the bone broth sitting in there, but you want it to be pretty well absorbed inside this dressing. And it soaked that up pretty good. That's some thirsty dressing. So I'm going to go ahead and pour in about half of what I have left and stir it up. And let's see how it looks after this. All right, so I mixed that in. As you can see, I've kind of put it up on the side so you can see there's no moisture down there. You got a little bit right there. So you want it a little bit more than that, but you don't want any of the liquid sitting in there. So I'm going to add the rest of this, incorporate it in. I think it's going to be perfect. Let me stir this up and we'll see if it's right or if we're going to need more bone broth. So that looks pretty much perfect. I'm going to pull this back up on the side just to make sure. But it's pretty much moistened all the way through. I know a lot of people hate that word moist, but I don't know what else to say. So I'm going to tilt this over. You got just a tiny bit of the bone broth running. So that's perfect. This is what you want. I'm going to put it in this bread pan, and I'll show you what it looks like. So I've got it in my bread pan. I'm just going to kind of flatten that out a little bit. And for this half batch, I'm just going to check it. So I'm going to put that in the 350 oven, and we will check on it in just a few minutes. Oh, and by the way, I tasted for the seasoning on this. Ended up adding a little more salt, a little more sage, and a little more thyme. So I'm going to leave the recipe the way it is in case you don't like those ingredients, but you may want to adjust it yourself. So I'm going to cover this with foil, and because it's a half batch, I'm going to cook it for 20 minutes. Then I'm going to take the foil off and finish it uncovered in the oven. You do the same thing with the full batch, but you're going to cook it for about 30 minutes in the oven and then uncover it for about 15 more. So let me get this in there. I'll show you what it looks like after 20 minutes. So I'm just going to remove the foil now. And we'll continue cooking it for another 10 to 15 minutes. So that's what our dressing looks like when it's done. I'm going to go ahead and cut a little slice here. Just get it all around the edges. I'm going to take this piece out, put it right here on the plate. And I just like to finish it with a little bit of this keto gravy. Or a lot of the keto gravy. That's really what I prefer.
Well, every great dressing needs gravy, right? Well, I happen to have one.
You're going to need some butter. You're going to need some bone broth. And I make mine with this concentrate and water. You can get it in the carton as well. Or if you make your own bone broth, use that. You're going to need some onion powder. You're going to need some garlic powder. You're going to need some smoked paprika. And if you don't like the smoky taste, just use regular paprika. It's fine. But this smoked paprika really adds a depth of flavor to this gravy that I really like. You're going to need some xanthan gum. You're going to need some salt, either this Redmond's real salt or some pink Himalayan salt. And you're going to need some black pepper. So I'm going to measure everything out, and I will show you how easy it is to make this keto gravy. Okay, I promised you an easy recipe, and this is it. You put the butter in the pot. You mix in all the seasonings and the xanthan gum, and then you're going to pour in your bone broth. Now all I'm going to do is put this on the stove top, and the xanthan gum may clump up a little bit, but as we whisk it, it's going to get really smooth. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit subscribe right down below. So really, all I have to do with this is just whisk this together. We're going to melt this butter. Okay, so now we got a proper boil here. We'll go ahead and stir this up. If the xanthan gum kind of congeals up, it's okay. It's going to cook out. Once it gets to this stage, I'm going to let it cook for 1 more minute, and I'm going to take it off the heat, and it will be ready. And so now I'm just going to turn it off. I'm going to cover it until we're ready to eat it. All right, so let me get a little bite of this and see how it is. Let's try it out. Oh man.
I do a lot of casserole recipes, and one of my favorites is an oldie. And if y'all see one of these videos that you're like, hey, you really need to redo this because the music's too loud, the video's way too long, whatever the case is, leave that down in the comments for me. Next year, I'm going to try to go through and clean up some of these old ones and film new versions of them for you. This one is one of my all-time favorites, broccoli and cheese casserole.
Broccoli and cheese casserole is a fantastic side dish that goes with so many different recipes. And you know I love to take a good recipe like that and make it keto because I don't like to deprive myself. All the dishes that I've always enjoyed, I still enjoy. They're just modified to be a little different, low carb. And I can eat things like this and not have to go lay on the couch for 5 hours to recover. So I'm going to show you how to make this broccoli and cheese casserole that is creamy, cheesy, one of the ultimate side dishes that you can make. So let me show you what you need to put this together so that you can have your casserole and eat it too. Here are the ingredients you're going to need to put together this broccoli and cheese casserole. You're going to need some riced cauliflower, a 12-ounce bag of broccoli florets, and you can use a bigger bag if you like a little more broccoli. You're going to need my keto condensed cream of mushroom soup, and I'll put a card up in the right corner, and I'll put a link to this down in the description so you know how to make it. You're going to need an onion, some garlic powder, some black pepper. You're going to need some heavy cream, some salt, and some smoked paprika. Now this cauliflower rice and broccoli is thawed, so I'm going to heat it up just a little bit in the microwave, maybe 2 to 3 minutes, just to get it warm before we put this together. Make sure your broccoli is drained very well, and then we're going to take these big florets and just cut them into little bite-sized pieces, and we'll put it together. And you're going to want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Hey, if you're enjoying this video and you're not subscribed yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button right down there and hit the bell, and you'll know whenever I upload a new video. So I'm going to start out with my cauliflower rice in my favorite mixing bowl. To that, I'm going to add in my warmed broccoli. I'll go ahead and mix in my condensed keto cream of mushroom soup, and I will put a card up there to the right so you know how to make that, and I'll put a link in the description. I'm going to go ahead and add in my onion. Now if you want, you can go ahead and cook the onion first if you like it a little bit softer. I find that it comes out really good just baking it right in, so I don't pre-cook the onion. A lot of people do. Then I'm going to go in with my spice mix. I'm going to put the cheese in, and I'll stir it up really, really well. Now I've mixed this up. I'm going to put in the heavy cream, give it another stir, and then we will get it ready to bake. So you're either going to take a 9x13 casserole dish or 2 of these 8x8 pie pans. And the reason I'm doing those is because I'm going to freeze one, and we're going to have one now. So I'm going to take this, evenly divide it in these 2, or you just dump it in your casserole dish, and I'll be right back. These are evenly divided, so I'm going to take my cheese and just sprinkle it all over the top like this. Now I like to finish this by sprinkling a little bit more smoked paprika on the top. And we're gonna go in that 350-degree oven for 25 to 30 minutes. If you're making it in the casserole dish, you're gonna need probably 35 to 40 minutes. So when there's 5 minutes left, I'm gonna take some of these pork rinds, crumble them right on the top. I'm gonna put this back in uncovered for the last 5 minutes to give it a little crispy topping. So this is what the broccoli casserole is gonna look like when it's finished.
I redid this video already because there's a real old one that was pretty bad. But this is my green bean casserole. Y'all, I am excited for Thanksgiving. I hope you are. And one of the things I'm super excited about is making this healthy version of a Thanksgiving classic. This recipe came out in 1955. The Campbell's Soup Company put it out. And when they did, they put a lot of seed oils and nasty ingredients in the pantries of people all over America and now around the world. So I'm going to show you how to make this version of a Thanksgiving classic, and it doesn't have to be just for Thanksgiving. You can do this any time of the year. It's low carb, it's super delicious, and you can feel good about the ingredients that are in this. Stick around. All right, y'all. I got a 9x13 casserole dish here. I'm gonna spray it down real good with some avocado oil. You can use olive oil or whatever you like. Just make sure you spray it down. And I've preheated my oven to 350 degrees. Now I've got a BAC of green beans. This one's 50 ounces, but you can add up several small cans if you want to. I'm just using these to make it more traditional. If you want a more fresh version, I've got an old video I'll link right up here, and I'll put it in the description of how to use the frozen green beans for this. It's actually gonna have a little more nutrition. I'm gonna take these and strain all the water out of them. You can even use paper towels to dry them off too if you want them real nice and dry. And I'll be right back to show you the next step. Next, I'm gonna take Old Yeller, who wants to participate in this, being it's close to Thanksgiving and all. And now that those beans are drained pretty good, I'm gonna dump them right in. To that, I'm gonna add in a half cup of heavy cream, a half teaspoon of some black pepper, a quarter teaspoon of some seasoned salt, and I have no idea what happened to this. Looks like it got attacked in the spice cabinet by some other spices that weren't real happy with them, but not sure about that. Then I'm adding in a teaspoon of some liquid aminos. These are coconut aminos. Make sure you get a little bit on the counter too. I'll put links to everything I use down in the description, but if you don't have this, you could use some of that Worcestershire, you know, something that's got that umami flavor. Because when you taste this stuff, you're gonna be saying umami. And last but certainly not least, we're gonna use 1 pack or about 10 or 11 ounces of my cream of mushroom soup. I've had this sitting in the fridge overnight because I keep it in the freezer so it's ready to go. I'll put a link to the video where I make this right up here. Don't let me catch you using none of that canned crap. Now give this all a good mix and make sure everything's well incorporated and well acquainted in here. Oh man, this is gonna be the good stuff. Now I'm gonna dump this right into the casserole dish here. Make sure you get out all that goodness. Spread it all out right there. And this is also optional, and it's not in the original recipe either, but I've got about a cup of shredded cheddar cheese here. I'm just gonna throw that right over the top because why not? If you want more cheese, use a little more cheese. You ain't gonna hurt my feelings. And wait, there's more, but not before this goes in the oven for about 25 minutes. It's gonna get all bubbly and ooey gooey and all that good stuff. It's gonna get a little bit golden around the edges. And then we're gonna add the finishing touch. I'll be right back as soon as it's done. Now I'm just gonna top it with these crispy onions that I made. I'll link that video right up there. Now let me catch you using that stuff in the can. This is about half my recipe for that. Don't turn your oven off yet. If you don't like the consistency of this, just leave the cream out. We love it like this because it makes almost like a gravy that you can sop up everything with. My other recipe is more traditional, a little bit thicker. And then I've got 2 tablespoons of melted butter. Don't tell anybody, they'll all be doing this. Just drizzle that right over the top. I'm gonna go back in the oven with this for about 5 minutes, and I'll be back to show you what it looks like. Y'all, it's been 5 minutes, and this is what we got right here. I mean, take a look at this. I'm telling you right now, this here is gonna be a hit. I'm gonna leave this here for just a few minutes, let it cool down a little bit, and then let's dig in. And you can see what I mean right here. This turns this into like a gravy. So if you don't want it soupy and you want it thick and creamy, kind of like the original, don't add that cream, and it's gonna come out perfect. Check out my other video and you'll see what it looks like. Y'all, if you want to know what Thanksgiving on a fork tastes like, this is it. Now, some of y'all are old school like I am, and you remember your nana or your grandma opening up a can of that old cranberry sauce, and it came out in a big plop that still looked like the can. Cut that up into pieces. Well, this ain't that. This is a next level cranberry sauce, and I promise you, this one is one of my absolute favorites. I don't say this a whole lot, but it's probably the best cranberry sauce that I've ever eaten. And I made it. This is a cranberry sauce for people that don't like cranberry sauce. Check it out. Here are the ingredients you're gonna need to make this delicious low-carb cranberry sauce. You're gonna need a package of cranberries. This is a 12-ounce package, but I'll put everything down below in the recipe. You're gonna need some Splenda Magic Baker or your favorite sugar-free sweetener. You're gonna need some vanilla extract, some orange extract, some freshly squeezed lemon juice, and some water. I'll get all this measured out and show you how to put it together. To this medium saucepan, I'm going to add in all the cranberries. I'm going to add in the water. I'm going to add in all the sweetener. The reason I like this sweetener so much is this is a combination of allulose, stevia, and erythritol. To me, erythritol has a cooling effect when it's used by itself, and we definitely don't want this. We want this to be nice and warming. So I don't like that cooling effect, but all these together are great. And then I'm going to add in the lemon juice. Now what I'm not going to add in are the extracts. I'm going to stir those in at the end. So that's what it looks like there. And I got this new Cooktron induction burner. I had a little accident with my other one, and if you've watched any of my previous videos, you probably know what happened. And New Wave was the brand I was using. They just came out with a double induction burner, but I had to have one, so I went ahead and got this one, and it's really nice. What I'm going to do is bring this up to a boil. Then I'm going to turn it down to a simmer. So this has a few different power settings. It has an 800 watt. It has 1000 watt, 1200, 14, 16, and 18. So since I'm only using one burner, I'm just going to turn it on 1400, and I'm going to put it up at the max of 464 degrees until this comes to a boil. If you're liking this video and you're not subscribed, click right down there, hit the bell, and you'll know when I put out a new video. Now this has been just a couple of minutes, but you can already see this starting to pop and boil a little like that. So I'm just going to let that continue to cook down for a little bit longer. Then I'm going to lower the heat down to about 350. This is what you want right here, and you can see it popping, and we want those cranberries to burst. So I'm just going to turn it down to a simmer now. 176 degrees on this particular cooktop. On your stove, you just turn it down, to a medium low. We're just going to kind of work this around for a little bit, cook it down, and I'll show you what it looks like. Now once it's to this point where it's just gently simmering like that, we're going to let it sit here and cook for 10 or 15 more minutes. So this has been simmering like this for about 10 minutes, maybe 12. You see how those cranberries are whole like that? What we're going to do is just start breaking them up a little bit, because we want them to burst, and this is going to turn into a sauce. So we'll just help them along a little bit. How about that? Turn the heat up a little bit. If there's some of them that are not bursting, we'll just give them a little help.
really, really happy with this double cooktop from Cooktron. I'll put a link to this down below. It comes in really handy, especially around the holidays. If you have people bringing over dishes and you need your oven to heat them up, and they've got stuff on the stove. If people bring dishes over and you've got those on the stove trying to keep them warm and you're out of burners, it's nice to have a couple extra burners over on the side. And there's nothing wrong with helping this along a little bit by mashing these up, but you do want to make sure it cooks for 10 to 15 minutes just so you start getting this sauce like that. This is the consistency you're looking for right there. And I like to leave just a few whole in there. If you really love cranberry sauce, you're going to like that. What I'm going to do is then turn the power off on here, or turn off your heat, whichever. And I'm going to pour in my extracts. Now, this has alcohol in it, so it's going to bubble up. I like to add this at the end. It's hot enough, it's going to cook that alcohol off, so you don't have to worry about that. But I just like to keep the flavors in there. And you're just going to stir that all the way through it. And mash some more of these if you want to. And man, this makes the house smell so good. And I cannot wait to eat this.
One traditional part of Thanksgiving has always been sweet potato casserole. Now, I don't do sweet potatoes. Every once in a while I'll do them if I'm having a higher carb weekend or something like that. But on Thanksgiving, I'd rather save my carbs for something else. So this is a sweet potato casserole without sweet potatoes. If you haven't seen this video, you're not going to believe what's in it. Check this one out. So the first thing I'm going to do is preheat my oven to 375. I'm going to check it out and make sure there's nothing crazy in here. And there's not. While that's preheating, I'm going to start my next ingredient. Now don't freak out when I show you cauliflower. That's going to be the base of this, but don't worry, it's not going to taste like cauliflower. I'm going to show you what to do to make sure it doesn't. But the first thing we got to do is just cook these to package directions. I'm going to use the microwave. If you don't believe in microwaves, you can boil them or whatever. And I don't need to know about how microwaves are going to give me brain damage because obviously I've already got some. So anyway, let me cook these up and I'll be right back as soon as these are done to package directions. So let's see, this one says, this side up, indicator facing up in microwave. Do not pierce bag. Okay, well, how long does it say to cook it for? Microwave, steaming bag, or? That's the bad thing about getting some of this Walmart stuff. The directions ain't real clear. Oh, so it's all the way down at the bottom. Here's the directions. Here's where it tells you how long to cook it. What kind of sense does that make? Come on, Walmart, do better. So my cauliflower is now cooked to package directions. I've got this pot on a medium heat. I'm just gonna dump all this cauliflower right in there. Now, if you don't want it to taste like cauliflower, make sure you do these steps. Just pour it right in there. There's a lot of liquid. And we're just gonna start cooking this down. Now, normally when cauliflower cooks, it gets even more cauliflowery. But I'm gonna show you how to fix that. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this other bag in. I'm gonna cook it down until all that liquid is gone. And this starts to just almost brown up a little bit. And as soon as we're there, I'll show you what to do next. So you see how there's some liquid down in there like that? Gonna make sure all this liquid is gone. And these start to brown up just a little. You can see how that collects right there. Make sure that's all cooked out. And I'll show you what to do next. So we'll just keep cooking this out, but in the meantime, and I know y'all probably think I'm sponsored by the big lemon corporations, but I'm not. I use lemon in a lot of stuff, and this is a real good reason because this acid will take some of that sulfur taste out, so it'll cook down, and it won't taste like cauliflower sweet potatoes. It'll taste like sweet potatoes. And there's another thing we're gonna do too, to make sure we got all the sweet potato flavor that you can stand, and it's gonna trick all your non-keto folks. So the lemon's in. I'm gonna stir it up real good. Oh man, that lemon smells great. But don't worry, you're not gonna taste it in the final dish. It's not gonna taste like a lemon casserole, although I do love lemon. We'll just keep cooking this down until it's nice and dry, and we'll go on to the next step. Now that the liquid's mostly cooked out of this, we're gonna go in with about a cup of pumpkin. Now I had just made my pumpkin cheesecake recipe, and if you haven't seen that or you haven't made that, you gotta do it. I'll put a link to it somewhere up top and down in the description for you. That is a must-have for the holidays. So this is what's gonna give this the sweet potato-y color that everybody's gonna be looking for. And we're not gonna use no orange number 47 or anything crazy like that. No, no. All natural ingredients here, baby. So we'll just mix this through. I'm gonna turn the heat down a little. I still want this to cook and get heated up before we bake it in the oven, but I don't want to burn it. So now that we've got that all mixed in, I'm going to add in a half cup of my brown sweetener, and I'll put a link to that video down below if you want to know how to make it, or just use your favorite keto brown sweetener. Mix that in all nice and good. Then I'm going in with a 1/3 cup of butter. Just throw that all in the mix. Oh man, this is good enough to eat out of the pot right now, but I won't. We'll keep on going. Just make sure that butter melts down. I'm going to add in a little bit of salt. About 5 twists. This is the pink salt, the Himalayan from Sam's. Or you could use some Redmond's or whatever. Just a little bit of salt. You want to bring out some of that sweetness and make sure that this has some flavor. Let's go 6. Why not? I'm feeling crazy with it today. And then a few turns of some black pepper. This spice is going to go really nice with the sweetness in the sweet potatoes. I think you'll really, really enjoy it. Then let me open up my little bottle of Liquid Joy, also known as the beaver-free vanilla extract. Okay, I'm not using the dropper. I'm gonna pour it. If I go a little bit over, I go a little bit over. It's not gonna hurt anybody. So 1 teaspoon of that goes in. If you like it a little more vanilla-y, make it a little more vanilla-y. You're not gonna hurt my feelings. And then about 3/4 of a teaspoon of cinnamon. That's a half. That's a half of a half. So there you go. Give this a nice little mix again. Oh man, this is coming together good. I'm about to show you this. I mean, come on now. Can I get an amen? That butter is almost melted down. I'm gonna go ahead and go in with my secret ingredient here. Some sweet potato extract. Now listen, if you got multiple extracts in your cabinet, make sure you get the sweet potato, not the regular potato, or you're gonna have some people mad. Now I'm gonna do about that much, just about half a dropper full. You may wanna do a little bit more. I think this is about right, but you know how you'll know for sure? You taste it in a minute and see if you got that sweet potato-y goodness. If not, add a little bit more in. It's never too late to do that, but you just can't take it away. And I know what you're thinking. Oh man, that's some chunky looking sweet potatoes. Well, that's right. As soon as I get this butter melted and everything well combined, we're gonna mash it up. So this is looking really, really good. Now there's a couple of things you can do in this situation, a couple ways you can mash this down. First of all, you could use an immersion blender. But, I don't know, this may be a little bit of overkill for that amount of potatoes. So I think I'm going to use a tater masher instead. So I'm gonna turn that off. Just bring it over here on the counter. I'm gonna give it a taste too. Oh yeah, that has got the sweet potato-y flavor. You may want to go a little bit more than what I use. It's just a matter of taste. That is delicious. So I feel particularly aggressive today. I feel like I need to get a little bit of that out. So I'm gonna just mash these up. Ain't nothing like mashing up some good taters, especially some faux taters, because you ain't got to feel bad about it afterwards. Or if you got a real short attention span like I do, just throw it in a blender and get it nice and smooth. Next thing I'm gonna do is just take a 9x13 baking dish. I'm gonna spray it down with a little avocado oil. Oh, but we're not done yet. Take one of these handy little 1-cup pouches, again from Walmart. Now, I didn't need directions for this. You just rip the top off, and you're gonna put about half of it into this sweet potato mix. You're gonna save half of it for the top. If you wanna be real precise, feel free to measure it. About that much. Guess I should have pulled my blade out first, huh? But I'll just get all these, what we call sweet taters. Just give that a good mix all through there. Now these are chopped pecans, but you can use whatever you like. If you want them a little bit smaller than that, feel free. Pecans, I'm gonna try to say it all the different ways for this video. Now I'm just gonna put it right out like that. Man, I'm telling you what, this is gonna be delicious. Make sure you get all that goodness out of there. Get your little spatula or a little butter spatula or whatever you call this thing. Make sure you get it all in there. But look, I'm not done yet. But I should be. I should just eat this right now and be done with it. I'm gonna spread this all the way out along the bottom there. Just get it as flat as you can. Oh man, I wish you could smell this right now. I'm telling you what. Have you ever had a sweet potato casserole without marshmallows? I didn't think so. We're just gonna get some of my keto marshmallows. Now, if you were freezing this to use later, just put it over half of it. You can freeze half and eat half, but we'll go ahead and cook it first, and you can freeze it and just heat it up later. But I'm gonna put these keto marshmallows all over half of it before I put it in the oven. Just spread them out real nice, as many as you want, or as few as you want. It's up to you. It's your kitchen. This is my kitchen. I'm gonna use a bunch of marshmallows. So here's what it looks like once it's all done and ready to go in the oven. We're gonna throw it in there. I'm gonna start at about 15 minutes and give it a check. I'm gonna sprinkle some pecans on top. I'm gonna go ahead and bake that. And then if you're reheating this later, then these will already be toasted and you're just gonna basically reheat it. And a lot of people like to put these down first before you put the marshmallows on. I like for them to kind of get all together, a nice little crusty piece on top, but hey, that's totally up to you. I'm gonna throw this in the oven for 20, maybe 25 minutes, but we'll see how it's looking. So I'll let this go for a total of 25 minutes. I'm gonna show you what it looks like. Oh man, that is the good stuff. Check this out. Now those marshmallows will kind of melt down like that, but I'm gonna show you in just a second, if you wanna serve it up where it looks just like the real deal, I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that. Before I show you what to do, let me just try this real quick. I mean, tell me that does not look like sweet potato casserole. But does it taste like it? Oh yeah. You cook it like that, nobody's gonna know there's cauliflower in there. You are absolutely gonna love it. Let me show you how to make it look fancy. So I'm just gonna take a nice couple spoonfuls right here and put it right in this dish. Throw a couple of pecans on top for good measure. And then just go all over that with some of these keto marshmallows. And look here, in my opinion, nothing goes better with the kitchen than a couple implements of destruction. So I'm gonna grab this butane torch. I'll put a link to this thing down below because there's a lot of things I'm gonna be making with this, including toasting marshmallows, some creme brulee. You never know what I might do. I'll torch this up proper. Just hit a little bit till you get some browning, and then move along. And there you have it. That's how we make keto sweet potato casserole. Now the best part, desserts. This one right here is probably my absolute favorite of all time as far as Thanksgiving desserts. This is my take on a pecan pie. So here's what you're gonna need for the pecan pie. You're gonna need some good butter. You're
You're gonna need some of this Magic Baker's blend, the brown version. You're gonna need some of the regular Magic Baker blend. You're gonna need some vanilla. You're gonna need some salt. You're gonna need some eggs. And although you never wanna put all your eggs in one basket, putting them all in one bowl is totally acceptable. You're gonna need some pecan halves. And you're gonna need one of my pie crusts, or you can use your own favorite keto pie crust. But mine's simple, delicious. It'll make your pecan pie come out perfect. I'll put a link to that video up top and in the description also. Now these are some pretty simple ingredients, but when you have really good ingredients, you don't have to make the stuff complicated. So I'm gonna measure all this out and I'll show you how to put it together. Now if you like pies and keto desserts and you're not subscribed to my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button right down there. Hit the little bell beside it. Anytime I do a new keto dessert recipe, you'll know about it. I'm just gonna turn on this pan to a medium heat. I'm gonna go ahead and start melting this butter. I'm going to add in the brown sweetener and the regular sweetener. We're just going to stir this up for 2 or 3 minutes until this sweetener is melted. And it's going to thicken up just a little bit. We're making like a basic caramel here. So now that all the sweetener is melted, I'm just gonna let this cook for about 2 or 3 minutes. So I'm bringing it up to a simmer like this. And we're just gonna let it cook right there for 3 minutes. It's gonna get a little more brown and it's gonna thicken up a little bit. So you can see how it's started to thicken up a little bit on the sides when you push it down in there. And that's when you're done. So we're just going to take it off the heat and it's going to cool to room temperature. Now that this mixture has cooled down, we'll go ahead and add in the salt. Give that a little whisk to get it throughout. Then I'm going to add in my eggs. I'm going to beat these, but before I do, I want you to see this. Can you tell me which ones are local, pasture raised, and which ones I had to buy in the store because my egg lady was out of town? So now I'm going to pour the eggs in. Make sure this is cool when you do that because you don't want scrambled eggs. So just going to whisk this all together, and I'll show you how to put this pie together. So we're just going to take our pie crust. I'm going to dump in all the pecans. Just kind of flatten them out like that. Now, if you want to make it pretty, you can leave some of those halves to put on top, but I like to just put it all in there. And I'm just going to take this caramel sauce and just dump it all on there like that. And my whisk just came apart. Did you see that? I get a new whisk. Anyway, I'm going to put this in that 325-degree oven. It's going to bake in there for about 45 minutes. Oh, I almost forgot to show you my trick. So before you put it in the oven, to keep this crust from burning like that, this is something I got from my grandmother. And I'll link the video up here on the easiest way that I found to make this. But I'm just going to put this ring right on top here, and that's going to keep that crust from burning. So I'm going to put this in the oven, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. And I forgot to add in my vanilla extract and maple extract. So I'm going to try this. Don't do like me, put this on ahead of time when you're mixing all the other stuff together, but I was just a little excited and I forgot. What I've done is a teaspoon of vanilla extract and a half teaspoon of maple extract. Some people don't like maple, so you can use all vanilla. You could use all maple if you wanted to. I'm just gonna try my best to pour this on top and figure out how it's gonna come out. Just try to evenly distribute it. But yeah, make sure you don't do like me. Put it in the beginning. We'll put it in the oven and see what happens. So after 45 minutes, this is what it looks like. Let's take this ring off first and see if it did its job. And it did. The crust is nice and brown, but it is not burned. And what you're looking for here is when you shake this, it should be just a little bit jiggly, but not much. So we're just gonna let this cool. And then as soon as this cool, we can go ahead and enjoy this delicious pecan pie. This video just came out recently, and it's probably the most iconic Thanksgiving dessert out there. I just wanted to make it a whole lot healthier, but still absolutely delicious. Check out this pumpkin pie. I've made a lot of things with pumpkin. I've made a no-bake pumpkin cheesecake. I've made a healthy pumpkin spice latte. I've made the 5-minute pumpkin dessert. I've made all kind of things, but y'all reminded me that I've never made a pumpkin pie. And that's just because I didn't want to make an old boring pumpkin pie. But I decided to take an old boring pumpkin pie, add some great flavors into it that are going to kick it up to another level, and make it so easy that even I can make it. This is the pumpkin pie for people that don't like pumpkin pie. Stick around. The first thing I'm going to add into this pumpkin pie filling may shock you. Is pumpkin. Anyway, I shared this on the other video, but always make sure it's 100% pure pumpkin. Look on the ingredients right here. The only ingredient is pumpkin. A lot of these pumpkin pie fillings are loaded up with sugar. And if you're trying to make healthier versions of standard American diet stuff, make sure you don't throw in any added sugar. I got this one at Walmart, and if you don't like Walmart, I don't really need to know about it. You can go out to the pumpkin patch if you want to, pick your own pumpkin, cook it down, and use that. But anyway, it's 15 ounces. I'm gonna dump that right in. To that, I'm gonna add in 3 beaten eggs. And normally I like to beat these before they go in, but I found out too late, this container is only a 2-egg capacity container and not 3, so I'm about to do more work in the bowl. Now I'm going in with a very generous heaping ½ cup of my powdered sweetener. And I'll put a link to that video right up there somewhere. It's just a way to save some money if you use a lot of powdered sweetener. Oh, why not? Just a little bit more for good measure. Or bad measure, depending on how you want to look at it. So now let me do a little extra work because I wasn't able to whisk my eggs. I'm going to get all this well combined. And if you don't make your own sweetener like this, just use your favorite low-carb powdered sweetener. It'll work just fine. Next, I'm going in with a 1.5 cups of heavy cream. And this spice blend. I've got 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, ½ teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/4 teaspoon of ground cloves, 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg, and a good old hefty pinch of salt. That's about 1/4 teaspoon as well. I'm gonna throw that right in. And give that a good mix together. Oh man, I wish you could smell this stuff right now. It is smelling absolutely amazing. And of course you can use pumpkin pie spice if you want to, but what's the fun in that? You can control your own flavors like this. If you don't like the clove, leave it out. If you don't like the nutmeg or you want more of it, throw more in. Hey, the world is your pumpkin. And of course, no great dessert can be made without a little bit of vanilla. Beaver free, of course, but I'm going to use the beaver to pour them out. Oh yeah. Man, that is the good stuff. There's nothing like making your own vanilla extract, and I'll link that video up there somewhere. If you've never made your own, you got to try it at least one time. It'll also teach you patience. So I'm going to get this all well combined, and I'll show you what to do next. I preheated my oven to 325 degrees. That's what we're going to cook it at. And right now is the time that you want to give this a taste. Just make sure sweetness is right for you. That is absolutely delicious. Now I'm going to take my new pie crust recipe, and I'll link to another pie crust that I made up there. This is the one that doesn't have any almond flour in it. You can make it without coconut flour and all that good stuff. So it's a recipe I've been working on for a while. I think it's absolutely delicious.
Now all I'm going to do is pour this right in. I'm going to put this in that 325-degree oven for about 55 minutes to an hour. You want the edges to be set up and the middle should still be slightly wobbly. I'll show you what that looks like as soon as it comes out of the oven. So it's been 55 minutes and this is what it looks like. It's just starting to get some little bubbles there. And see how it's all firm around the outside, but that middle is just a little bit jiggly. That's what you want. We're going to leave it here. This is going to cook just a little bit more. I'm going to put it on a cooling rack, let it cool to room temperature. I'm going to cover it, and I'm going to put it in the fridge overnight. And I know, but you want to do that to make sure that it cuts perfectly. I'll throw it in there. I'll show you what it looks like when it's all cool, and we'll cut into it. So this has been in the fridge overnight and it cracked a little bit on the top. Sometimes it does that, sometimes not. I'm not sure exactly why, but hey, I'm just gonna cut a piece of this. You know, that first piece is always the sacrificial piece. So I'm gonna try this. Then I'll get a pretty piece to show you how to finish it. So here's the texture you got right here. I mean, that right there looks like a winner. Here, get you a bite. The way I'm gonna finish this is really easy. I took about a tablespoon of butter and I fried up some of these pecans and then threw in maybe a tablespoon or so of my brown sweetener. I'm gonna get a little bit of my whipped cream that I normally just use around the holidays. Throw a little bit of that on there. Top that with a few of these. Oh man, that is some sticky, ooey gooey goodness right there. And then if you want to get real crazy with it, get you some low-carb maple syrup. Just drizzle that right on the top. Oh man, I tell you what, that's the good stuff. And the part on the counter, that's for me. Hey, this right here is going to be a hit at any of your parties. It's creamy, it's pumpkiny, it's got all that fall spice in it. I might need just a minute. Y'all, I hope you've enjoyed spending this little Thanksgiving dinner time with me. Again, I appreciate y'all so much for watching. I'm so thankful for y'all. I hope you find some inspiration in this on some things you can make for your Thanksgiving. Be thankful. Be grateful, and I'll see you on the next video.